Hi, everybody. What is up? Welcome back to my channel.
Hi,
Oh my
everybody.
gosh, I'm
What is
sorry.
up?
I didn't mute myself on the Twitch, so then I heard the feedback. This happens to me so frequently, and I feel like even though I've done 9 episodes now of the show on Twitch, it's still such a new platform for me because I literally don't use it for anything else. But I really want to start using it more because I want to pivot to doing like live stream videos where I work in cafes and do like study with me's because I feel like you can make a lot of money just doing like nothing online. Like there's a guy in Toronto who walks around and live streams his walks around the city and he always has like 4,000, 5,000 viewers. And I feel like this is something that I could also do just for money and just for the internet. I guess I really like the idea of being like 24-hour online and that kind of like level of accessibility, but still some mystery because there's like a screen between you. Anyway, welcome back to the show. My name is Sonia and I am a DJ artist, musician, writer, etc., based in currently Daegu, South Korea. And I was from Toronto. And this is What's Playing, the bi-weekly talk show where I talk to musicians, artists, music industry adjacent people about what's on their playlists and what they're listening to. It is every other Wednesday on Onaire on Twitch, but this is a very special episode because one, it's the season finale of season 3. I can't believe I've already done like 30 episodes of this. And it is because our guest is in a different time zone and obviously has work. Like we all have schedules, so we decided to do the last episode on a special schedule. So thank you so much for tuning in outside of the regular scheduled hours. So after the show, this episode is done, the show will be taking a little hiatus for basically all of January. Unfortunately, my scheduling just not going to allow me to do season 4 until February. But in the meantime, feel free to send me any. Can you hear me? I feel like I'm so far away from the microphone. In the meantime, feel free to send me any, special guests that you want me to talk to, anybody interesting. This, I think, was such a good season. It was really nice to have Chill Wavekins come back on the show. I had some really interesting people talk to. Definitely, I think, like, a really interesting episode I had was still the first one with Ariel Zatina, so rewatch it. But yeah, let me know if there's anyone specifically you want me to talk to. But I'm going to introduce this week's guest. I'm so excited. I'm such a fan. And it's always nice to say that because I think working in the music industry, something we forget is that we are fans first. Like I didn't start working on music because just for the sake of it. Like I listened to music first and then I wanted to work on it. I listened to music first and I wanted to work with these artists. Um, so I think it's very nice to remind myself of that role of the fan and also to put myself back in that role of the fan and to just be happy that I get to talk to somebody that I really like and admire. Anyway, without further ado, Michete is a Seattle based musician, drag artist, and nightlife personality. She describes her sound as left of center underground dance pop that takes heavy influences from hip hop and electronic music. Over the past several years, Machete's irreverently sexual lyricism, incessantly catchy hooks, and outrageous stage persona established her as one of the most recognizable names in Seattle's queer nightlife and DIY music scenes, while also gaining her a cult internet following. She is currently writing and recording her as of yet untitled debut album, which she hopes to release in 2022, which is very soon. And I hope it happens because I will be first in line to buy it. But as you all may know, I don't buy physical things anymore, so I will just be buying the digital in case Machete decides to release a vinyl. So I'm gonna add her to the stream now. Oh my gosh, this tea is so cold. I just touched it with my bare hand. I'm gonna add Machete to the stream. I'm gonna put in the little title card. We're gonna have a little chit chat. I'm so excited. And then we'll be on our separate ways, and that'll be the end of season 3. Hello.
Hello, hi. Can you
Hi. Oh
hear?
my
Can you
gosh,
see
let me.
me?
I can see you now. I'm obsessed with this background. Very Minecrafty.
Yeah, it's the Chow Garden from Sonic Adventure 2.
Is it? I'm like not able to get a lot of video game references because I
That's
just didn't
totally
play them as a
fine.
kid.
Yeah, not everyone needs to be a gamer pilled like that. Oh my god, my eyeliner is fucked up.
Oh, me too.
Hi. Yeah, no, this is I think maybe the first time I've ever been like done an interview where I'm on camera but I'm not in drag. So this is like a pretty unprecedented level of access. This is intimate.
You only on air Twitch, only on What's Playing. Very raw, very real.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna have fucked up eyeliner for this interview. Like, wait, no, it's not. Okay, I was literally fixing the wrong one because
Oh,
it's
the
reversed because
mirror.
it's on my screen. Yeah. Oh my god, I'm such a dumb bitch. Okay, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and just say it's fine.
It's fine because the
Yeah,
camera. It's fine. I
it's
always
fine.
like. I'm always doing these in like just like regular clothes that I took from like the laundry because it's just on camera.
Yeah. I mean, whatever.
It's
It's
fine.
fine.
We have to be casual and accessible sometimes, I
Exactly. Exactly.
can't always be like looking down on the plebes.
The please. True.
I've
So
decided to
true.
start bringing the word plebes back into my ring light is not lighting me up the way I wanted to. The I've decided to start bringing the word plebes back into like my lexicon. I feel like it's very funny, and I feel like it's funnier than peasants.
Yeah, I don't think I ever left mine, honestly. I think I've always just kind of like had that word in my vernacular. Oh
It's
my
like in the
god.
back pocket to throw it out.
Yeah, yeah, it's necessary sometimes.
I haven't used it in a long time, so it's very like you know how when you like learn a new slang and you're like experimenting with it. That's how I
Yeah.
feel using it.
I think I've probably mainly used it to describe myself
Okay,
historically. Like in like a class consciousness way. You know what I
right.
mean? Yeah.
Very very self aware.
hmm
Well, I mean, let's just jump right into it. Like, what are you listening to? I need to know. Do you have any like guilty pleasures that you're coming back to? Anything that you think makes you feel sound very cool?
I don't think I really have guilty pleasures. I don't think that's really like a notion that I subscribe to. I think if I like something, then I like it.
Yeah.
But what have I been listening to? Well, I'm trying to think like what are my favorite like albums that have come out this year in the past handful of months. I've been really obsessed with Macy Rodman's new album.
Who is
Uh,
that? I'm not familiar.
Macy Rodman is this insane trans woman who lives in New York, and she like makes music and does drag and like has a podcast with her friend Theta. But she in my mind primarily exists as a musician, and she just put out an album this summer, I believe, called Unbelievable Animals.
Okay.
And it is just so good. It's incredible. It's so solid. So yeah, Unbelievable Animals by Macy Rodman. That's
How would
definitely
you
like
describe the music?
it's definitely like pop. She's definitely like a pop singer, but it's like kind of this particular album of hers, it's very like 60s by way of 90s in a way. It's like kind of like it's like a lot of it's like very like Courtney Love, but also like Kylie Minogue in a way.
Yeah.
It's like dancey, but kind of grunge influenced, and kind of has this like it's very like groovy music. It's a
Okay.
lot of fun, yeah. And I think she's like such a good lyricist. And the way that she uses her voice, I think, is just like really lovable. And yeah, the melodies and the songwriting across the entire thing is just like so fucking like solid to me. And like I was like very because she's like a person I've just known for a while, just like from being trans women on the internet.
Right.
Like it's like you just kind of rub shoulders with a lot of people. But this is the first time I've like really gotten into her music because I like had heard of some of her stuff before, but I've never like taken like a deep dive into her work. But this new album of hers, I'm like obsessed with. It like actually might be my favorite album of the year.
Out of curiosity, how many songs on the album?
There are 12.
Okay, so that to me is an appropriate amount of songs on an album.
I
What do you
agree.
think is an appropriate amount of songs on an album?
Here's the thing. It really depends, but like I love a short album. I love an album that you can just like sit down and digest in like
Right.
a and you know what I mean? Like, oh, the people in the chat are going up for Macy Rodman. I love that. But yeah, no, I love when an album is between like 9 and 13 tracks. I think
Right.
that that's like wonderful. I when it gets like above the 15 mark, I'm just kind of like, okay, like it's
Oh my god.
really I don't have that type of patience for like a lot of people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're Janet Jackson, then it's fine, you can pull it off, but like generally speaking, I think shorter is better. I think
Yeah.
I'm like I said, I mean, you said when you were introducing me, I'm working on my debut album right now. I would ideally like to have like 11 tracks on it. I think is a
Right.
good amount. I would want to like be able to release something and know that there's no filler on it and that it all feels very like kind of substantial and worth hearing. But also like that people are going to have the attention span to just like sit down and listen to it in one
Yeah.
sitting. Um,
Yeah. And like get the whole story in one go, basically.
yeah, there's a lot of artists who I think put out way too long albums. I don't think I've ever, um, like, I don't think I've ever gone through a Drake album without falling asleep.
Oh my god, they're so long. Like,
Drake's
I'm
albums
sorry,
are
but you just
so long.
and the thing is, like, you're not, first of all, towards the end, like, first of all, nobody's listening to those. Secondly, you're not saying anything. Like, it's not even like it's interesting to follow because towards the end, they all kind of start to sound the same. Like, I'm sorry, but you don't need 24 songs. You just don't.
You,
Make
yeah,
two albums in that case.
literally, and space them out. Yeah, no, like, yeah, I think there's, I love a short album. I really do. I love an album that you can just briskly like go through.
I love a short album as well, and I think like I feel like it's like a nostalgic for me. Like we're obviously the same age, 17, and like I remember those very short albums from like my youth. Like Ashley Simpson, her albums were like 12, 13 songs. Like this, like Black Eyed Peas, like the stuff that I listened to, Hilary Duff, like they were short albums. So to me, that grew up with like that notion in my mind of like
Yeah,
that's the appropriate length.
to me, like 12 tracks is like the standard pop album length. Like that's like kind of the
Yeah,
standard in my opinion. But yeah, no, I love when it's only like 10 or 11. I love like Robin, when Robin came back with
yeah,
Honey. I remember like, oh my god, like because like Body Talk was this like kind of epic opus, you know, and then like her follow-up 8 years later was Honey, which was only 9 tracks. And
yeah.
I remember like a lot of the gays in my city were like, "It's so short. You can't even dance to these songs." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "This album is a masterpiece. First of all, like it's literally so good. Like, what are you talking about? The fact that it's only nine tracks is perfect because all
Yeah.
9 of them are fucking iconic. They're all so strong and stand
Also,
on
like,
their own.
leave me wanting a little more, you know? Like,
Literally, I would rather be left wanting more than be given more than I can handle. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
For
in
sure.
so
Yeah.
many ways.
Yeah. I love a short album. What else
Yeah,
have I
I
been listening to this year? The new Tommy Genesis album is
oh my
definitely a
god, Tommy
fave.
Genesis. I haven't heard the
Yeah.
album.
You
I can
haven't? Oh my
guess.
god.
No.
You gotta get into it. Did you hear her first album that she put out a few years ago?
I feel like I definitely heard it like years ago, but I don't think I've like reached back to it since. I think it's only been like like singles here and there for me. Like I don't think I've like gone back to it.
Word. No, yeah, Tommy Genesis put out an album a few months ago called Goldilocks X, and it's
Amazing.
yeah, it's also quite short. It's only like 30 minutes long. A lot of the songs are like only a couple minutes or like less than 2 minutes.
Mm,
Which I do have opinions about that as well, but with her I excuse it because it's so good and the songs like bleed into each other so seamlessly, and it's
yeah.
like such an experience to like listen to her albums. But like, yeah, no, she's like become one of my absolute favorite artists over the past few years. Like I absolutely love her.
Yeah, she's very cool. I think there's so many like cool artists on that kind of like side of pop,
Hmm.
right? Doing kind of the, I guess a little more like left of mainstream stuff, but still
For
like
sure.
very accessible, very danceable, and listenable music, right? Because there's some pop that like it's very experimental, and you're like, oh, this is sick, but like I can't play this out at a nightclub. I can't like dance to it, really.
What would an example of that be?
I don't know. I guess like my first example of any is would be like the 100 gig stuff. Like I love listening to it, but like
You
am I
think you
gonna?
can't play 100 gex at a club? You absolutely
I
can.
did, but I used to, and then everybody would leave, and I stopped.
Really?
I would play 100 gigs at clubs like sometimes, like obviously before COVID and stuff, and like I would watch people go away.
Oh my god, that's so
Which
offensive.
is like, to
I
me, like I don't know. I don't think it's that crazy of music. Like I don't think it's that like unlistenable. There's worse stuff.
No,
It's good,
absolutely.
right?
No, yeah, 100 gex is amazing. I just saw them a couple months ago, or maybe it was only like a month ago. Yeah, no, I love them.
I wanted to see them, but COVID.
Word, yeah. No, like I don't know. It's I mean, I do think their music is insane, and it's not necessarily like the most accessible thing, but it's also like if you're not already hip to 100 gex, like what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah,
I feel like if I were to play 100 gex like at like a club or a bar here in Seattle, people would like it because they would all know it. You know, like
yeah. Maybe people just didn't know it. This was like several years ago, I guess, when they were kind of like still newer and
yeah, I
not as
mean,
like popular because now everybody knows.
yeah, no,
You
they're.
can't secret anymore.
I think next time you're DJing out at a club, you should drop some 100 gex, and maybe it'll surprise you how positive the reception is.
Right? I mean, I would love to. I don't know when the next time I'll be playing out is, but
Yeah,
we'll see. I would love to go back to what you said. You had opinions about short songs, and it's funny because like just now before we were talking, I was listening to a new album by this artist, Nothing Nowhere, who's like, if you were emo back in the day and you like electronic music now, that's what you're listening to.
okay, that's
But I
cool.
was I was looking at the track lengths and they're all like 2 minutes, 2 minutes and like 30 seconds. And I don't know, I feel like that's part of like a greater trend of so many songwriters choosing to make their tracks really short, like Beatles length these days.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like not into how short songs are getting because I feel like it's very like well, I mean, over the course of like popular music, like the length of songs has always been influenced by like format, which is kind of an interesting conversation. If you like look back at like, you know, songs in like the 60s or whatever were like 2 minutes long because that's like literally just how much you could fit on like the 7 inch vinyl. And
Okay.
then when like the 12 inch dropped, and that was like kind of when disco was happening, and all of a sudden there was these like 7 8 minute long like extended mixes
Yeah,
of
people are
like
like, look
pop
how long
songs.
we can make it.
Exactly, exactly. And so it's like format has always influenced like and then like, you know, there was another shift with like CDs, etc. So the format that we consume music on like has always influenced the length of songs, but it's like we're seeing that happen again with streaming where it's like record labels want like streams and they want to rack up streams really quickly. And so artists are putting out these songs that are like 2 minutes long.
Yeah, because then
Um,
you just end up like re-listening to it because you're like, oh, it's so good, let me hear it again, and then you just play it on repeat for like 10 minutes.
Exactly, exactly. And also TikTok is influencing that too, because like a TikTok can be, I believe, 2 minutes and 20 seconds long. Every song on
Mm,
the Pink Pantheress album is less than 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Every Pink Panther song
really?
can be fit in its entirety inside of a TikTok. Yeah.
Oh.
And I love Pink Pantheress, you know, like I think she's great. I like that album a lot. But and so I don't know, like, but there's part of me that just misses when pop songs, you know, because I'm a millennial, you know, I'm 29 and I grew up with like, you know, Gaga and Kesha and Nicki and
Yeah.
Beyonce and Britney and like those were like my pop girls and like I miss when pop songs would always be like, you know, 3 4 5 minutes. There's always like a bridge, you know, they always felt like they had like meat to them. And sometimes when people like I said, I like some short songs. I think it can be done effective and can be done well. A lot of the time when it happens today, it feels like we're just cutting corners because we want to game the streaming system. And it's like you could have wrote more of this song. Like, you know,
Yeah.
but whatever.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that sometimes it just feels like it's just cut off too early, right? Like there was space in there to add more. It didn't have to be so short. Like you could
Yeah,
have done more, right?
for sure, for sure. Yeah, and that can be kind of frustrating, but I don't know. But then they'll like Lil Nas X like put out the extended video version of
Okay.
Montero as a single after putting out like the regular single. So that's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating how format influences song length. Like
It
it's a weird thing to look at in music history.
These like extended versions remind me of like back in the like early like mid 2000s where like every even people put out like remix albums, like Britney
Mm-hmm.
even did one with like one of her songs. There was like seven remixes on the album or something, and it was like a more kind of, I don't really see it as much anymore. I maybe see it in like EDM space but not super much. I think maybe Taylor Swift
I
maybe
think
did that not too long ago.
I think remix albums are coming back actually. Um,
Really, I would love that.
yeah,
I'd love them.
well, because the 100 Gex put out their remix album of
Yes,
the
they
1000
did,
Gex
they did do
album,
that.
and then Dua Lipa also put out a remix album for Future Nostalgia, and then Gaga just put out Dawn of Chromatica a few
She
months
did,
ago.
yes. That is a
Yeah,
that was huge. She got so many collaborations on that, and such an
incredible.
exciting project, honestly. It's very like forward thinking for 2021, I think.
No, absolutely. And so it's kind of she's kind of the first like big name, like marquee mainstream pop star to like embrace like the hyper pop scene and kind of like work with like those artists and shine a light on like that sector of what's happening in music. So that's very exciting. But yeah, I
You
think
wouldn't classify. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I think that we're starting to see more and more remix albums, and I think that trend is going to continue because it's a way of sort of adding duration to like a pop album's life cycle. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
like when I was growing up, it was like like Katy Perry had like 6 singles from Teenage Dream or whatever, and they would be spaced out, and they would be like it'd be like the album's a year old, and like the artist is still releasing singles from it to promote the album. But I feel like now that streaming is the dominant format, it's like usually most of the singles come like in a huge wave before the album, and then when the album drops, it's like everybody just streams it and hears it, and you don't hear much about it afterward.
Mm,
And so I think now remix albums are kind of a way of like expanding an era and kind of adding length to like an album's life cycle, and maybe getting like a few more singles out of an album's life cycle, or just getting more streams or whatever, just by putting out a remix album, which I do think is actually really cool. Like I do love
yeah.
that. So that's like I think an interest. Like I said, the only examples that have happened like really in a pop space, like I think of our 100 Gex, Dua Lipa, and Lady Gaga. But I think it's something that over the next few years of pop music, we're going to see more of. Like we're going to
Yeah.
see major labels wanting their artists to do remix albums to like basically delay the era, to be cynical about it. But I think I don't know. When remix albums are done well, they're so fun. Like
Yeah, and you can revisit them a lot, and sometimes the remixes can be much more like rewarding than and they're so much more flexible, I think too. Like you can use some remix tracks and like dance songs or you can do like a ballad, whatever, right?
yeah,
It's always nice to hear like different versions of songs.
absolutely.
I
Yeah, no,
think it appeals to me a lot.
yeah, I love Donna Chromatica. I've been listening to that remix album a lot since it came out, and yeah, some of the songs I think are kind of better than the original versions, but it's like
Yeah.
it's cool to just have both. It's cool to see a song like interpreted multiple ways.
I think it's interesting what you said about like extending the life of the album. I was talking about this recently with some people about how like basically nowadays people just put out an album and then it goes away, right? Like you just kind of stop talking
Literally.
about it. Like even especially like independent artists, and I think this is where like a lot of people struggle is that like put it online on like Instagram and then kind of just stop talking about it. But there's ways to extend it. Like on my label, we released a remix album of one of the artists' albums like a year after the album was released
Yeah, that's
to
so
like
exciting.
to
I
like
love that.
promote it and stuff. And we did like dance versions of the songs basically because they were like more like ambient or like chiller. And it works, because you get people going back to the original album as well. I think a lot of maybe smaller independent artists struggle with figuring out how to extend the life cycles of albums, and I think you're right. I mean, I remember being a kid and like albums would come out, but it would be like the album would come out and it'd be like a new single from the album like every month, but you'd be like, but it's already out. It was very confusing because I didn't understand like how marketing worked at the time.
Yeah.
But like it's true, you don't see it anymore. Like it comes out and then there's like a big talk about it and then it kind of goes away.
Yeah, no, it's like nothing. It's like hard for albums to kind of hold like listeners' attention span for very long in like today's climate or whatever. And I think the streaming format just it's because it's like everyone knows they can just go stream the album if they're interested in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
And
I don't
it's
have to go
like
wait in line at the store. I don't have to buy a copy and like go run home to my CD player.
yeah, but it's also like it's a yeah, and so it's not this thing where it's like maybe an album comes out, an artist puts out an album, and it's somebody that I'm not into, but it's like I like a couple of the singles, and then it's like 6 months later, it's like oh, I've heard 4 singles from this album now, and they're all good. Maybe I should actually just go check out the album. It's like that doesn't really happen anymore.
Oh my
It's
god,
like
so true.
yeah, it's like when the album drops, it's kind of for whoever was already interested in it, and then that's kind of the only people it really gets to. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Like
so it's
yeah. I confess, like I don't really listen to whole albums that much anymore. Like I'm definitely like I've been a very early Spotify user. I've been using Spotify probably like since the year it started.
oh wow,
Yeah, like I very early caught onto it because I didn't want to pay for stuff on iTunes anymore. And I was like, oh, this is like a great idea because I was like probably in like college, right? It was
yeah,
that old. Um And so yeah, I was a very early user of that, and I very quickly caught on to the fact that like, oh, now I don't have to listen to the whole album to find out what I like, or like I would start listening to the album and then I'd find like the song that I liked, and I could just put it on repeat and not have to, you know what I mean, then forget about the rest of the album. It was so easy to just like pick out individual stuff
Yeah.
instead of having to
I
go through the whole thing.
I love listening to a full album. I like that's like still kind of my favorite way to consume music is to like listen to an album the full way through. I love going on the journey. I love hearing like the artist's full statement. Like I don't know. I'm definitely like an albums girl.
Right.
But I also sometimes am just like a play one song on repeat person. Like that's definitely something that I find myself doing. Especially like because I in addition to make because I do drag in addition to making
Yeah.
music, and sometimes it's like I'll kind of like, you know, come across a song or I'll remember a song and I'll kind of like have a thought of like, oh, should I do a drag number to this? And then it's like I will literally listen to it like 20 times in a row and just kind of envision like how I would perform the song or whatever, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then sometimes I end up just decide I never end up doing it. But it's like that's like a way that I'll listen to music sometimes is like I'll literally just think about like it's I'm just like kind of entertaining the
Performance.
idea of performing it and I'll listen to it
Yeah.
like so many times. Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting perspective, like, because you also you have to come to music through the lens of like performance, right? Not just like as a listener. So I wonder, like,
Mhm.
how do you, like, is the music that you perform to different from the music that you listen to day to day? When you make your own music, do you take into consideration elements of performance, or do you just make like music that you want without thinking about like, oh, how will it be to perform this, or what if somebody else performed this?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think I generally when it comes to like doing drag, when it comes to like the art of like lip syncing to other people's music, I do generally I don't really perform songs that I don't love. Like anything that you see me lip sync to on stage is something that like I genuinely enjoy listening to. Like there, yeah, I don't think I would ever lip sync to a song that I don't genuinely think is great and enjoy listening to. When it comes to making my own music, I do think about performing it while I'm making it. I do think about like how is this gonna live in a live setting, you know, and like when
Hmm.
I do this one live at my shows, like you know, what's how is this going to engage the audience? I think about that a lot. My newest single, "Hard," that we put out back in October, actually, the bridge of that song where it's like that chant that's like "you fucking man child." It's that part of the song, you know that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, originally that section of the song was like half as long as it is, and then Todd, my friend Yuffie, the producer, who I have been working on all my music with lately, he was actually the one who suggested like, what if we doubled that part because that part's gonna be so fun live. Like people are gonna want to like chant along, and it's gonna be like so hype, like it's gonna be this like really climactic thing. And so like the reason why that section of the song is as long as it is specifically because of like how we thought it would live during the live show.
That's
So
so
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, no, like that's like literally why the bridge is as long as it is because we're like, oh, when we play this live, we want to like really have a moment with the crowd and like let them get into it and catch on to it. So
Right. So that was for them.
yeah, yeah, but also it's satisfying to make it longer because it's a satisfying part of the song anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, so like in retrospect, I'm glad he pitched that idea to me because I think it's better as a song that way. But like yeah, no, I definitely think a lot about how things are gonna live in a live performance aspect when I'm making the music.
Would you ever make something that you would like consider unperformable just for like I guess yourself or like to release it?
Maybe I don't know. You know, because like yeah, like I mean, a live set is never gonna just like be the exact same thing as like what you hear on an album. Like it's always gonna be different. And so yeah, I mean, I've definitely thought of dudes or whatever or things that I wouldn't necessarily do in a live setting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not opposed to doing something like that. I don't think.
Right.
Yeah.
What's you know how like you go to, you're right, it is different live. And you know, you can go to see a band or you're an artist and sometimes the show is not the same as what you would expect it to be off the album. What has been a show that really, or like an artist that really surprised you live that you were like so blown away by? You were like, oh my gosh, this is an amazing live performer. Because like It's always nice to be surprised live. It's good, but it's not always the same because of course it's not as
Yeah.
manicured as the record.
Who was I surprised by? Are you familiar with Sir Baby Girl?
No.
Yeah, she's like this queer musician, singer, songwriter. She's somewhere on the East Coast now. I think she might be based in Brooklyn now. But yeah, Sir Baby Girl. She put out like a mini album a couple years ago, and she came through to Seattle, and we kind of like knew each other from the internet. She's actually like a longtime fan of mine, which is funny because
Aw.
she's quite a bit more famous than me now. But when she played in Seattle. I went with a few friends, and I was just like so blown away by like what she was capable of live vocally. It just, I was like really surprised by it. It was one of those shows where it's like maybe you're not super like that into a person's music, but then you see them live, and it makes you like the music more. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, no, Sir Baby Girl she's cool as fuck. And if you ever are able to catch her live, she's so amazing. She's so good. Like, yeah, I love her.
Okay, awesome. I'll have to look into that. Oh, this is a question that I wanted to ask like an artist specifically, so I'm glad you're here. So you know Lord,
Yes, I know, Lord.
right? So Lord obviously like took a huge hiatus from between her albums and just put her recent one out not too long ago. And I thought it was really interesting because we're so used to artists basically pumping out a record every year, right? Like it's almost come to be expected from like a high level artist, be like, okay, where's the new album? Where's the new album? Because
Mm-hmm.
you have like people like Taylor Swift who are so prolific and essentially releasing stuff, what I would say like on a yearly basis, maybe sometimes a little more frequently than that. Taylor releases stuff
Yeah, yeah. I mean, she put out two albums in
during the
2020.
pandemic,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
and then
like,
she,
yeah, like Drake releases a lot. Ariana Grande releases a lot. Like, there's quite a bit of artists. Like Megan Thee Stallion puts out a project like once a year, it seems.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like it's almost kind of like we almost expect our like high level artists to constantly be putting out projects, not just singles, but like full length projects that we can consume. I'm wondering what you think is, I don't know, like the best for the artist and also for the audience. Like, do we deserve this much music all the time? And like if it's put out that frequently, like is it good? Is it worth it?
I prefer when artists wait a bit. I love that like someone like Lord only wants to release every few years. I think yeah, I think when an artist puts out an album every year or puts out more than one a year, it's like it can just be such an oversaturation. And it's like as a fan or as a listener, it makes the artist like hard to keep up with. It's like I'm just still processing that last thing you put out, and now you want me to like go and listen to this entire new thing. It's genuinely overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would rather like really like I want to like, as a listener, I want to be like delivered a collection of songs. I want to be able to like have those kind of marinate into my body and my soul and my life and kind of have my moment with them. And then I want to be given the opportunity to like miss you a little bit. And then when it gets announced that like you're coming back with your new single or whatever, it's like, oh fuck, like hell yeah, like this is so exciting. But it's like if you're putting out an album every year, it makes it less exciting. And I also think it compromises the quality of the music. Like it's like you don't have as much life experience that you're putting into that music.
Right, because there's so much
Compared.
short time between the projects. Like, what happened between, like, because you finish
Yeah,
releasing it and then you're back in the studio again.
yeah. And the reason why like every time like Adele drops an album, it's an event. It's because she makes the people wait. You know what I mean? If Adele had put out albums called like 26, 27, 28, and 29, 30 wouldn't be a big deal. You know what I mean? But it's like,
Right.
yeah, I think it's good to take a few years off. I love that Lord did that. That's like what I would see myself doing as an artist once I mean, I'm still working on my debut album right now, but it's like when I put that out, it's like I'm not going to be in a rush to get the second one done. You know what I mean? I would rather wait. Like I think like Fiona Apple has been active for like 3 decades, and she's only put out like 6 albums, 5.
Wow.
That's cunt. That's amazing. Make your fans wait 8 years. That's fucking cool. Like I
Right.
think,
Like if you love me, show me you love me.
yeah. If you love me, then you can fucking wait. Like yeah, no. And I think
Put a
there's
remix album out in between.
No, literally, honestly, like let us still be living in the same era, but if you want to give us like a gift or like a live concert album, it's like there are ways you can like release and give your fans something without being like, okay, new album cycle, we're doing something completely different now, you know? And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if like when I mean we were talking about all those artists we just named, like I don't know if it's like a thing where it's like the label is like requiring them to put out stuff so quickly. But I definitely do think it like I mean, like I guess like someone we could talk about with this is Rihanna.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah, she
when
was putting out a lot for a while.
yeah, I used to make the joke that she was the Call of Duty of the music industry,
Oh,
because she would release an album every November, and she did that literally for 8 years straight, released an album once a year. And of course, there were like so many hit singles from those albums and so many big hits, and she like became such a cultural presence. But none of them, in my opinion, were like albums. And then
mhm.
she waited a few years and put out Anti, and it's like we're still listening to Anti, and it's like
Yeah,
that album is a body of work and it's bulletproof, and it's the only release in her discography that you can really say that about, because everything else she's ever put out, you know, while there's definitely like there's hit songs and there's classics and there's bangers, it's like there's also all those albums have a lot of filler on them, and they all very much sound of their time. Anti is timeless. Anti, you know, you can put on today and it's amazing as the day it came out, and it's because she
yeah,
took her fucking time on it, you know what I mean? And so it's like, yeah, I think taking your time on things is a good thing to do. Like, I don't think you should. I don't think artists should be pressured to like, you know, rush their creativity or to like release super often. I don't think it's good for the art.
yeah. I have to agree with you on that. I think it's while I do respect a prolific artist and someone that's putting out like a huge amount of work, I also think that it kind of dilutes the work over time.
It does. It does.
Like
It's like, yeah,
so much access, it's like we as I don't know. Like I always try to think, like I said, like as fans first, and sometimes it's just too much, Like I have other stuff that I'm listening to. I can't like consume 30 songs every year from the same
yeah,
person.
exactly. It makes it hard to keep up with, and it gets really monotonous. Yeah.
I know that in the States, everything is pretty much back to normal from what I understand.
I
Tour, like,
mean,
are you like, well, concerts are back from what I understand, club, or is it like a state by state situation?
yeah. I mean, it really depends on where you live. Like some areas never had any type of lockdown. You know, there are some
Florida.
areas. Yeah, there's some areas in the states where it's like hardly anyone's vaccinated. Nobody's wearing masks. All of our stuff's open with no restrictions. I am very happy that I live in Seattle. I'm very happy that I live in Seattle. Washington, I think, was one of the best states to live in terms of like COVID safety. And Seattle specifically, you know, I think was very good about that. Like Seattle definitely has a culture of like we all wear masks here.
Yeah.
Everyone is vaccinated. We're like far and away one of the most vaccinated cities in the country. And so like yeah, like nightlife and live music and stuff is back. I've been performing. I'm going out like 3 nights a week maybe.
Amazing.
Yeah, I've been doing drag. I've been going to parties. I've been playing shows. I've been very much back to my old life, and it feels, you know, like I don't want to say it's like back to normal, because it's like there's still people like wearing masks in the club, but it's like that to me is just like it's such a tiny inconvenience to endure in order to like have this thing that we all need back. Yeah, I'm
How?
actually sorry, go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead. No, I
Oh,
was gonna. I was gonna
I was just gonna say I'm going out tonight, a few hours after we wrap this up. I'm gonna go see a DJ. Do you know Jasmine Infinity?
yeah, big fan.
Yeah, she's playing here in Seattle tonight, and I'm gonna go
That's
see
so
her. I'm
cool.
so excited. I'm so excited for it.
I
Yeah.
think that she did Toronto a couple of years ago with a Chippy Nonstop party. I think maybe they got her
Word.
in for pep rally.
That would make sense. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. I think they're either like working together, but I definitely like recall such an event.
Yeah.
So like how was the hiatus as a creative person? Like did you find it draining or refreshing to not have to like perform? I'm not sure if you were doing online stuff during the main Panny D. Season
I've
one Panny D.
Yeah, season one, the quarantine period. I found it so brutal for a
Yeah.
number of reasons. It was so difficult for me. You know, a lot of which was just kind of like personal stuff I was going through. Like
Mm-hmm.
I had my facial feminization surgery, and then 2 weeks later everything shut down.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's like, and that's like a surgery that I've been like wanting for the entirety of my 20s, and it's kind of been this thing that I like always like never knew that how I was going to be able to afford it or like how I would be able to access it, and then it's like I finally was able to access it, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to get this surgery now, and it's going to do so much to like alleviate my dysphoria, and I'm going to be able to like just live and exist in the world as a woman and be free of like so many of these burdens, and I'm going to be so much more myself, and I can finally feel at home in my body. And then it's like, nope, stay in your house and also cover your face up that you just got fucking surged up. Like it was really difficult. And you know, I tend to like, or at least I used to. I don't know if I'm like this anymore now that I'm like approaching 30 and I'm in like my Saturn return, but I used to have a bad habit of like really catastrophizing things. And when
Mm-hmm.
things would go wrong, it's like my mind would like kind of just jump to the worst case scenario. And it's like for a while, I genuinely thought like I'm never going to go to a club again. I'm never going to
Right.
perform for a crowd again. You know what I mean? Like this thing that I've dedicated my life to,
Like
that I've
worst
said,
case scenario.
yeah, this thing that I've like centered my identity around and dedicated my life to, and I've invested so much time and money and emotion and hard work into like Michete, is now just gonna like not exist anymore, and it's never gonna exist again. Like that's genuinely what I thought for, you know, a several month long period, and
Right.
it
That's
was
so upsetting.
so upsetting. It was so upsetting. And then, you know, there was other stuff going on personally as well that I like don't necessarily feel like getting into, but it was really hard. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, once they started rolling out those vaccines, I was incredibly happy. I was incredibly happy. But also, I guess, you know, on the flip side of it, you know, because the last project I put out was the mixtape Cool Tricks 3, which was in 2017. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's like I didn't really put out music for almost 3 years, and I kind of threw myself into doing drag and was kind of focusing on that for a while. And I was like throwing parties and kind of like really just integrating myself into like the queer nightlife scene here in Seattle. And I like hadn't recorded or written new music in a long time. And at some point, like kind of the brutality of what I was going through emotionally in quarantine, and the fact that like most days I literally like there were so many days where I literally just like laid down in my bedroom for the entire day and just like suffered. And
Right.
it's like at some point that did kind of force me to start writing again. Like that's how I started writing the song Hard, was
Okay.
because I was like, wow, like I literally like it was one of those things where it's like I have to start writing or like I'm just going to die, you
Yeah.
know?
Like I need to get it out. I need to release.
Yeah, like it was just so much. It was such a brutal experience emotionally that I was like, I need to just like I need to just write something. And at one point I think I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna make like a really sad quarantine EP. I think I'm gonna make like a really like doomy and gloomy, like super horny, devastated like EP of like quarantine isolation songs, and then just put those out. And that's how I started writing that song. But then eventually I was like, wait, what if we just like double time the drums, and then now it's a house song?
And now it's
And what
fun.
and now this is cunt. And now we can play this in a club and it's good. Yeah. And then yeah, I wrote Back of the Truck like around that same time. And that was kind of like what jump started where I am now. So yeah, I guess it was I would have preferred to have not gone through all of that, I would
Yeah.
say, but all is well that ends well, I guess. I'm here, I'm back in the club, I'm making music again, I'm making the best music of my life, in my opinion.
Right.
I'm having a great time. So I'm very grateful that we got vaccinated. I actually got my booster today, just like a
Oh
few
my
hours ago.
god. Oh my gosh. We're both boosted up. We are both ready.
Exactly. Bring it on, Omicron
I love
variant.
it.
I am ready.
In Korea, we have to so like everything is online in
Oh yeah,
Korea.
no, I saw you tweeting about because you are not a Korean citizen and you were like
Oh my
having a hard
god.
time getting your booster like locked down. You figured that out.
So basically they weren't like letting us register foreign vaccines. They were like, "Oh, were you vaccinated overseas?" And you'd be like, "Yeah." They'd be like, "No, you're not vaccinated here. Like you count as an unvaccinated person."
Oh wow.
And which was crazy because like if you were a Korean person who got the vaccine overseas, you could register it, but like not a foreigner. But like whatever. So it was like very annoying. I was like, oh, this is so fucked up. But like also it's like the country's like 99.9% ethnically monogamous. So like they're gonna care about this. Like I'm not a Korean person. Why the fuck do they care about me, right?
Yeah.
Um, Like, I can't even get mad about it. I was like, oh, what, like an annoying situation, because now, as of tomorrow, Monday, you have to show the vaccine pass to get into like cafes, restaurants, like everything.
Hmm.
Like, you can't do anything without being vaccinated, and everybody has to get the booster. But in the end, they let us do it, and I ended up getting. So I was like, I'm just gonna get revaccinated. Like, I'm
Why
just gonna
not?
do right. I was like, fuck it, whatever. So I got the first shot again, but then they were like, okay, fine. Like, all the embassies are bullying us, so we're gonna recognize foreigner vaccines. So I ended up going to like the health center, and I got everything registered. And the third one, the first slash third one, counted as a booster. So it's over.
I love that. That's so great. I'm really glad
Happy
to hear
happy
that.
ending, but it was a very very stressful week when they made the announcement, and people were like, I want to register the vaccine, and they were like, no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Have you been like DJing out in Korea at all? Are you like doing stuff out there or like going out to music
No,
stuff?
for I mean, like, I'm in Daegu, so I'm not in Seoul, and Daegu's
Mm,
like uh they had curfew for a while when I arrived. It was like 10 p.m.
okay.
So I didn't really get out, and then now I just do like radio stuff, and to be honest, I'm a little bit more like content doing it. I think I'm old now, right? Like,
Yeah.
mentally I'm like 50, so I'm like, oh, I don't want to go like outside and like in the cold nightclub in the winter, and it's cold.
Yeah,
I
it is hard to get yourself out there in the winter sometimes, for
I'm really
sure.
like, I don't know. I think if anything, like the quarantine and pandemic period made me realize that, like, after spending so much of my life working in nightlife and like being a nightlife person, I think it's like time for me to be a daytime person now.
That good for that. That's lovely, I think. Do what you
You know
gotta
what I mean? Like,
do.
I'm tired.
Yeah, for sure. I get that.
But like, I do like miss it in some ways. Like, I'd be open to it, but I'm not like prioritizing looking for like party gigs anymore. Like, I'm very, very happy doing just radio and
For
mixes,
sure.
and I feel like very at home with it. But what I did want to ask you before we got into talking about like the pandemic, which now I feel is a bit inappropriate given that the conversation was so like emotional, was well, we have a little bit of time left. I'm gonna say, like, do you have any like favorite cities in the states that you love to visit, like that you think their scene is a lot of fun?
I haven't done a lot of traveling, which is something that I do find upsetting if I think about it too hard. But I think I'm gonna start traveling more. I just was in Chicago a couple weeks ago.
Fun.
Yeah, I really really loved it. I mean, Chicago is known for having like a really developed and respected drag scene.
Yes.
It's
And
like
a
one of
really
the,
good gay village as well.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, like Chicago's drag scene is like it's like right up there with New York and LA in terms of US drag like cities that like have it's like a pillar. And there's so many like Chicago queens that I've been following for years and like mutuals and fans and friends that I've had in Chicago that I finally got to meet in person for the first time a few weeks
That's so
ago.
exciting. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just cool when you travel to a new place and it's like everything you wanted it to be and it's like just super chill and you like meet new people and make new friends and then it's like this thing where it's like, okay, now I can come back here whenever and there's going to be people who are going to be down to book me. Like there's going to be places I can stay. I know places I can go to fucking eat food. It's like, like it's cool to like it was just kind of like a dipping my toe in the Chicago waters to just kind of like check it out, but it's like I really enjoyed it. I want to start going back there frequently. I haven't been able to perform in LA for a while, but I do love visiting LA.
Hmm.
And I have never been to New York in my life, but I want to go soon. I think like within the first few months of 2022 I want to try to play a show out there because I have so many like friends and mutuals out there and
You would
like
definitely get booked there, like, no problem,
yeah, no,
especially if you know people already.
they do. Yeah, I mean the DJs are already playing my shit out there. The queens in New York are already performing to my songs. Like that's been happening for
Amazing.
months. Yeah, actually, my friend Kylie Mooncakes, she's a drag artist here in Seattle. She recently visited New York, and like she just sends me this video on Instagram, and it's like she walked into this club in Brooklyn, and back of the truck was just playing. Like the DJ was just playing it when she walked in, and I'm just like, that's so funny. Like that's hilarious that you walked in and that song was playing.
I
Um,
I love playing that song out because it always makes people laugh, and it's just such a good beat. And like, whenever I'm playing techno, I just love to throw it in there.
Thank you.
There's definitely like
No,
3 or 4 mixes that I've used that song in.
I'm glad to hear that. That makes me happy. Yeah, Jasmine Infinity, who I'm seeing again tonight, she plays it in like all of her sets. I would imagine she's gonna play it tonight, which is gonna be cool because I don't know if I've ever like really experienced it in like a techno context in like a public setting. So that's
That
gonna
would
be
be
really
so
sick.
like fun to like hear your song and be there and see how people react to it like in real time. Not from
No, for
you.
sure. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like I think that's a lot of fun. I'm excited. I hope she does play it. But yeah, that's the other thing I've been doing. I've been going out to a lot of like techno stuff lately, which is like not historically like a big thing for me, but it's like it's I just like live with a bunch of people who love techno now, and I've kind of just fallen into this clique of people who love doing that, and I've just kind of ended up doing it. And I'm starting to really, really enjoy it, and I'm starting to be like very influenced by it. And it's like,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, like no, for sure, because it's like that. It's like this is like where I want my music to exist. You know what I mean? Like this is like the context that I want my music. Like I want
Yeah, in that club space.
yeah, I want like the fucking cool like techno and electronic and like house DJs to like know the name Michete and to feel comfortable putting my shit in their sets. Even though it's like obviously my music is very pop and it's like there's like rapping and there's vocals and it's like very
Mhm.
accessible. I want it to still be able to like slot itself into those sort of underground, more esoteric DJ sets and like make sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is also why we put out the stems for Back of the Truck, and we're gonna put out the stems for Hard soon too, because it's like I want DJs and producers to like. It's like if you want to make like a harder version of this, if you want to make your own version of this that like fits better into your DJ sets or whatever you're doing, I like fully encourage it. Like go off, like do whatever you want with these stems. I think that's cool as hell.
Would you ever try to DJ yourself? Like learn and
I did for the first time a few months ago.
ah,
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I live with a bunch of DJs. I live at a house venue here in Seattle. I live with
amazing.
yeah, I live with 7 other people, and we like throw shows in our
Oh my gosh,
basement.
that's so fun. That's like a DIY like punk house situation. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's awesome. It's awesome. The space we have is really fucking sick. It's called Neck. Like we're throwing a show at Nick. Yeah. So yeah, a couple shows ago, it was like our friend's going away show who just moved. This couple that we're tight with that just moved to Brooklyn. But I was one of the DJs on the lineup for that, and it was my first time DJing really for like a crowd, and I was in drag for it because like why not?
Yeah.
Because I feel like because like DJing and drag is like a thing. Like there's drag queens who DJ, there's drag queens who it's like the only thing they do is DJ. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like and I feel like if I'm in drag and I'm DJing, it like kind of can excuse the fact that I'm not at all good at the technical part of it in terms of like transitions between songs and like all that shit. It's like I literally like just haven't practiced that at all, so I'm not good at it. But I think my choices are very fun. And I
That's
think
the
I
most
think
important part, in my opinion. It's like less about
absolutely.
the trend. Like, yeah, okay, you want to be able to like not fuck up technically, but like it's all about the song selection. And you got to remember, like early DJs, like their transitions sucked because they were using vinyl. Like it was just train wreck after train wreck. What mattered was the tracks.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think I have fun choices and I think I throw shit at people that they're not expecting. But yeah, I've only technically DJ'd for like a real crowd. I've only been booked to DJ once, but it's something that I want to do more. I think it's really fun, and especially DJing in drag because it's just like so stupid.
I think it's awesome, and I think it would be really cool if you DJ. Like, I think I have a lot of friends that make music that also DJ, and
Mhm.
DJing is a really fun way to test out like unreleased tracks and see how people react to them, and see if this is something that you would want to put out, or if you're just gonna like keep it on the back burner. I think it's
For
a
sure.
very fun thing. I don't know, like DJing is so fun, and like I don't know, sometimes like guys make it so serious, like they're like, oh, the art of DJing. It's not that hard, and it's just about having fun. I think I don't know.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
recommend that everybody like try it out at least once in their lives because like it's a lot of fun to be like the one in control of the party. Honestly,
No, absolutely, absolutely. It's fun to be the one dictating the vibes. Like it's
yeah,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I agree. I think song selection is so much more important than technical skill. It's like to me, DJing is kind of like the art of showcasing your personality through your music choices. And it's like I
yeah,
love, you know, I don't know. It's like I can get down with like just like kind of like a straightforward techno set or but it's like I love when shit happens that's like very surprising.
yeah, like a weird DJ set.
I love a weird DJ set. One of my favorite DJs here, who is also one of my best friends and also one of my favorite drag artists here. Her name is Jane Don't.
Okay,
Um, Jane
Great name,
don't.
amazing name.
Yeah, when she DJs, she's such a psychopath. Like she like goes crate digging on like SoundCloud and finds like the weirdest like remixes and mashups, and it's like she plays a lot of like really gay like house shit and like techno shit, but it will also go into like hyper pop and like nightcore and like also
Yes.
like I don't know, like she'll throw in like a fucking like Jersey Club remix of like a Linkin Park song or like whatever. It's like I love shit like that. I love being surprised on the dance floor. I
Yeah.
love when something happens or like what was it? Yesterday, Rowan Ruthless, another DJ drag queen friend of mine, I was just out last night at her party and she dropped this mashup of All the Things She Said by Tattoo and Gasolina by Daddy Yankee.
Oh my god.
It was so good. And like nobody like no one like expects something like that. Like so
Drop
I
the
think
link. Send us the
yeah.
link to that track.
I think having the audacity to do something really stupid is the strongest quality you can have as a DJ. Like honestly, like that's
Or
my
just like
favorite thing.
anybody. Like just be brave enough to be stupid and embarrassing.
I agree. I agree for sure.
Like you're gonna die, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna die. Regardless of what happens.
Exactly. That's honestly my entire music career is just me having the audacity to be fucking stupid.
I
Like,
respect it.
yeah, thank
Um
you.
well, I don't want to keep you too long. We're running out of time. So do any like final statement, last words, shout outs?
No, I think I did a lot of shouting out on this here
Yes.
stream, which is good. Yeah, if you don't know who I am, my name is Michete. Stream my music. It's out there. And yeah, I'm like I said, I'm trying to get this album done. Would hopefully like to release the next single within the next few months. I think I know what the next single is gonna be.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. I just got back on estrogen, so I feel like very powerful. Like I feel
Oh,
like I feel like something kind of like clicked back into place in my brain, and I'm like, oh, I like
you're like, I can do this, I can do this.
yeah, I understand Machete again. Like I know
Mm,
exactly what has to happen here. So I'm very excited about the stuff I'm working on right now.
that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear. Well, thank you so much, Machete, for your time, for the chit chat. I'm sorry I like pester you in the chat to constantly send me bio and links and stuff.
You're totally
Um,
fine.
I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, if it's not early, it's late.
Yeah, that I'm a Virgo rising, and I'm waiting for any of those tendencies to start showing up in my personality. I was like, I would really like to be as organized as any of my Virgo friends, but
Oh,
we'll see.
what's your sun sign?
I'm a Cancer.
Oh my god, my favorites. I love
Yeah.
Cancer. It's the best. One of my best friends is a Cancer, but she has literally no Earth signs like in her chart at all. So
Mm.
all she wants to do is like snack and flirt and shop,
Good for that.
and
That's a
like
party.
cry. And I'm like, you know what? You don't need to be organized because I will organize for you.
Exactly. That's what community is all about.
Yeah, we're sharing our resources. We're skill sharing.
Exactly.
It's a commune.
Exactly.
But anyway, thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you, Onaire, for having us. Basically, once again, this is the season finale, so I'll see everybody in February with the new stuff. Feel free to contact me online at Sonia_online for on Instagram for like any suggestions of people I should talk to. Send me your friends. I'm always looking for new people to talk to for the new season. Each season is 10 episodes long, obviously. Because the last three have been like that. But yeah, thank you so much again. Thank you for watching. Big shout out to Onaire and Michete and everybody. And I will see you in 2022. And hopefully everyone's been boosted by then.
Thank you for having me.
Bye. Thank you. I'm
Bye.
going off live.